All right, I'm setting things up here, possibly getting it done. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about introductions and then following that a little bit about conclusions. The important things about introductions. The introduction gets the audience warmed up and gets them to want to listen to you. So this is your chance to kind of introduce yourself, your topic, and to demonstrate to the audience that you care about them and you've thought about them a little bit. So the purpose of the introduction, the textbook lays these out. I'm going to go over them real quickly. First, to gain the audience's attention and their interest, and that you do in the attention getter. Second is to gain your audience's goodwill, to have them like you and feel positively disposed towards you. And you do that by doing audience analysis, and then in the introduction, including an audience relevance statement. So kind of explaining to the audience, here I've thought about you, and here's why my topic is relevant to you and your interests. You also gain the audience's goodwill through a statement about your credibility, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Another purpose of the introduction is to clearly state the purpose of your speech, which is going to be found in your thesis statement. And finally, it's to preview the structure of the speech. So you give a short preview at the very end of the introduction of what you're going to be covering in that speech so that the audience knows what they're going to be listening for. So the parts of the introduction that we just talked about, what is the purpose of the introduction, sometimes those overlay exactly into the parts of the introduction, sometimes not so much. And this is coming from the outline worksheet that's on Web Access. First is you have an attention getter. Again, this is where you get the audience's attention and interest. Part of that is what you say or do. Part of that is how you say or do those things. So no matter what your attention getter is, you want to say it in such a way that the audience knows that you're starting your speech. The second thing is an audience relevance statement. Here you explain why your topic is important to or relates to the audience. This demonstrates that you've thought about them, that you're concerned about them, and that you're tailoring your presentation to them. You know, that there's a reason for them to be there rather than somebody else. Third is the speaker credibility statement. Why are you, as a speaker, somebody that this audience should listen to about this topic? And in large part, this is going to be, what is your connection to the topic? Why are you interested in this topic? Why did you choose to speak on this topic? Fourth is the thesis statement, which again is kind of giving the audience what the purpose of your speech is. And finally, it's the preview statement. Okay, so there's one thing that I want to tell you about kind of with the introduction, the parts of the introduction. The things that have got to remain in order are, first of all, the attention getter. That's the first thing you say, and it has to be the first thing in your introduction. Never start your introduction or your speech with, "Hi, my name is Lisa, and I'm going to talk to you about introductions." Okay, that's boring. It doesn't get the audience's attention. The last thing that's going to be in your introduction that doesn't move in order is going to be the preview. That's like right before you get to the body, you're kind of giving a little, you're giving a preview of what you're going to talk about. So attention getter and preview, these are kind of the bookends. They stay where they're at, first and last in the introduction. The other three parts, the audience relevance statement, your speaker credibility statement, and the thesis, those three can switch around in order. So you could go from your attention getter to your thesis statement to audience relevance to speaker credibility to preview, or you could go attention getter to speaker credibility to thesis to audience relevance to preview. So those three parts, the thesis statement, the audience relevance statement, and the speaker credibility, those can be shuffled around in order to help your introduction have a nice flow. And some key considerations for your introduction. First of all, your introduction should be done after you've thought about the body of your speech and the main points that you're going to be presenting. You can't preview or think about what your preview is going to be until you've already laid out what your main points are going to be. So introduction and conclusion, we'll talk about that. The introduction is done after you've done your main points, and that is also that's when you think about them. Sometimes people will hand in their outlines, worksheets, and it's like they've started at the top, gotten down to a certain point and then ran out of time. That shouldn't happen. So I shouldn't just see an introduction with no body and conclusion, because if you've thought about the introduction, you should have already thought about the body, so you might as well put that in there. So always do your introduction as kind of the final step in creating your speech. Second consideration, questions as attention getters. The textbook discusses, and most textbooks will say, use a question as an attention-getting device. That can be a good way to do to get the audience's attention. However, you should not use an audience poll or survey type of question. You know, like, how many of you drink soda, when your topic is persuading people to not drink soda. That's a kind of audience analysis question you should have done earlier, because it could be that and I've had this happen to students where they're giving a speech persuading the audience not to drink soda. They never did any audience analysis until their attention getter in their speech the night that they're giving it. They ask the question, how many of you in the audience drink soda? Nobody raises their hand. Okay. Boom, right there, their speech is not relevant to the audience. There's no reason for the audience to listen, and they've shot themselves in the foot with ethos because they've demonstrated no concern about the audience whatsoever. So do not do an audience poll or survey kind of question. That should be done as audience analysis. Okay. And the final consideration is, if you do have some sort of question that's not an audience analysis, but it's some other type of question, use that information in your speech. So don't just kind of ask a question as an attention getter and then check it off mentally and then move on with what you were going to say. Make the audience's response important and incorporate that in the speech. You're going to need to practice a little bit to learn how to do that. So that's some key considerations about the introduction, the purpose, and also the parts of the introduction. And I hope you guys are having fun working on your speeches.